The locker room fell silent as Coach Harlan slammed the door behind him. "Landon, pack your stuff. You're off the team effective immediately. We don't need a gay quarterback messing up the Hawks' chemistry." The words landed like a blindside hit I never saw coming. I stood frozen in my pads, sweat still dripping from practice, while 20 pairs of eyes burned into me. Jake, my best friend since freshman year, looked at the floor. Tyler crossed his arms. No one spoke up. Someone had leaked the photo of me and Wyatt from last weekend, and now the secret I had guarded for 3 years was public property. I swallowed hard, throat tight. "Coach, I've led this team to the semifinals. I've never missed a snap." My voice sounded small in the concrete room. Coach just shook his head. "This isn't about talent, son. It's about what the parents and the boosters will say. You're done." He turned and walked out, leaving the door swinging. The silence broke into whispers. "I knew something was off," someone muttered. Another laughed under his breath. I ripped off my jersey, shoved it into my bag, and pushed through the door without looking back. The Texas sun hit me hard on the practice field where I had poured blood for 4 years. My legs felt heavy as I crossed the parking lot. How had it come to this? I thought about the nights I had lain awake wondering if I was broken. The fake dates with girls to keep the image clean. The way my dad bragged about his star son to the whole town. Then Wyatt showed up at the start of senior year. New kid from California with easy smiles and zero fear. One late-night study session turned into confessions, then into something real. He made me feel seen for the first time. Now that truth had cost me everything. At home, Dad was already waiting in the living room, phone still in hand from the coach's call. His face was redder than I had ever seen. "What the hell is this, Landon? You throw away your scholarship chances for this." Mom hovered in the kitchen doorway, eyes wet. "Frank, not now." But Dad wasn't stopping. "I raised you to be a man. The whole town is going to talk. How do I face my buddies at the bar?" I stood there, bag still over my shoulder, feeling smaller than I had on any losing field. "I'm still the same person," I said quietly. Dad just turned away. I escaped to my room and shut the door. The trophy shelf mocked me. State runner-up, MVP plaques, all of it suddenly meaningless. My phone buzzed. "Wyatt." "I heard. I'm so sorry. Come over if you want." I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. Part of me wanted to delete the message, pretend none of this was happening. The other part knew Wyatt was the only person who wouldn't look at me like I was damaged. I grabbed my keys and left without telling my parents where I was going. Wyatt's family apartment was quiet when I arrived. He opened the door before I even knocked, pulled me inside, and wrapped his arms around me without a word. We sat on the worn couch, my head on his shoulder, and for the first time that day I let the tears come. "They looked at me like I was a stranger," I whispered. Wyatt's hand rubbed slow circles on my back. "They're scared of what they don't understand. You're still you, Landon. The guy who throws perfect spirals and makes everyone laugh in the huddle. That doesn't disappear because you love a guy." His voice was steady, the way it always was when my world spun out. We talked for hours. I told him about the locker room, the coach's cold eyes, Dad's anger. Wyatt listened without interrupting, then shared his own story of coming out in California and the friends who stayed. "It gets better," he said. "Not overnight, but it does." When I finally drove home after midnight, the house was dark. I slipped inside and lay on my bed staring at the ceiling. Sleep didn't come. All I could think was that tomorrow at school the whispers would start, and I had no playbook for this. Football had been my armor. Without it, I felt naked. Yet somewhere deep down a tiny spark flickered. Maybe this was the moment I stopped hiding. I just didn't know if I was strong enough to carry the fire. The next morning, the hallways at Riverside High felt longer. Kids I had known since kindergarten stared openly. Someone had printed the photo and taped it to my locker. I ripped it down, jaw clenched, and walked to class with my head high even though my stomach twisted. In English, Wyatt sat 2 rows behind me. Our eyes met once, and he gave me the smallest nod. That nod kept me going through the day. At lunch, I sat alone until he slid into the seat across from me with 2 trays. Figured you might not want to eat mystery meat by yourself. We talked quietly about nothing important. Movies, weekend plans, anything but the stairs around us. By afternoon, the team was already practicing without me. I watched from the bleachers, hidden behind the press box. The backup quarterback threw 3 interceptions in 15 minutes. The offense looked lost. Part of me felt vindicated. The bigger part felt guilty. These guys had been my brothers. Now I was the enemy. When practice ended, I slipped away before anyone spotted me. At home, dinner was silent. Dad ate without looking at me. Mom tried small talk about college applications, but the tension pressed down like humidity before a storm. That night, Wyatt texted again. "Proud of you for getting through today. You're not alone." I smiled at the screen for the first time since yesterday. Maybe he was right. Maybe I wasn't alone. But the road ahead felt endless, and I had no idea how far I could walk before I broke. Still, for the first time, I wondered if breaking might be the only way to become something new. The whispers followed me like shadows for the rest of the week. In the cafeteria line, someone coughed "fag," just loud enough for me to hear. In the parking lot, a group of sophomores laughed when I walked past. I kept my earbuds in and my eyes forward, but every comment chipped away at the armor I was trying to rebuild. Jake avoided me completely. The guy who used to slap my helmet after every touchdown now crossed the hall like I carried a disease. The betrayal burned hotter than the rejection from coach. Wednesday after school, I finally cornered him by the vending machines. "Why'd you do it, man? We've been friends since we were 12. Jake wouldn't meet my eyes. "I saw the picture on your phone when you left it charging." Panicked. The guys were talking about how the team needed to stay strong. "I thought if they knew, they'd understand why you've been distracted." His excuse sounded weak even to him. Distracted? "I threw for 300 yards last game." He shrugged. "It's not just me. Half the team feels the same. We can't have that energy in the locker room." I stepped closer. "What energy?" "The energy that won us district." He finally looked up, shame flickering for half a second. "It's not the same now." I walked away before I said something I couldn't take back. That night, Dad called a family meeting. Mom sat on the couch twisting her hands. Dad stood by the fireplace like he was giving a halftime speech. "Son, I've thought about it. You can still play if you keep it quiet. Go to college, get the scholarship, then figure out the rest later." I stared at him. "Keep it quiet? Like I've been doing my whole life? That's what got me here." Mom tried to soften it. "We just want what's best for your future." I stood up. "My future includes Wyatt. If that's a problem, then maybe I don't belong here either." The room went dead quiet. Dad's face hardened. "You walk out that door. Don't expect me to pay for college." I grabbed my keys and left before the tears started. I drove straight to Wyatt's. He opened the door and pulled me into a hug that lasted until I stopped shaking. We sat on his bed with the window open to the warm night air. "I don't know how much more I can take," I admitted. Wyatt rested his forehead against mine. "You don't have to take it alone. My mom already said you can crash here if things get worse." His kindness cracked something open inside me. For the first time, I told him about the nights I had cried in the shower after dates with girls I didn't like, the fear that God or my dad or the whole town would hate me forever. Wyatt listened, then shared his own scars. Being kicked out of his old church youth group, the friends who ghosted him. "We're both survivors," he said softly. "That's how we win." The next day at school, the principal called me into his office. "We've had complaints about harassment," he said, but his tone suggested I was the problem. "Maybe lay low for a while." I laughed bitterly. "Lay low? I've been laying low for years." He sighed. "Just don't make waves until after the championship." I left angrier than when I went in. Wyatt met me after last period. We walked to the old oak tree behind the stadium where no one ever went. He took my hand even though anyone could see. "I'm done hiding too," he said. We stood there under the branches, the distant sound of the team practicing drifting over. For a moment the world felt smaller, just the two of us. When he kissed me, it was gentle, full of promise. Whatever happens, we face it together. But the internal storm kept raging. That night, I lay awake replaying every tackle, every cheer, every moment football had defined me. Who was I without it? A gay kid in a town that didn't want him? The thought terrified me, yet Wyatt's words echoed survivors. Maybe surviving meant letting the old version of me die so something real could live. I just didn't know if I had the courage to bury him yet. Friday brought the first real blow. The Booster Club posted on social media that the team was dedicating the next game to Team Unity. The comments underneath were full of coded messages about real men and family values. I scrolled until I couldn't breathe. Wyatt found me in the library during study hall and closed my laptop. Stop torturing yourself. We talked instead about college applications, places far from Texas where no one knew our names. The dream felt fragile but possible. By the weekend, the isolation had settled into my bones. Mom left plates of food outside my door. Dad watched football in silence. I practiced throws alone in the backyard until my arm ached, pretending the net was a receiver in the state final. Each spiral reminded me what I had lost. Yet each night when Wyatt texted goodnight, the ache eased just a little. Love was becoming my new anchor. I still didn't know if it would be enough to carry me through the storm, but for the first time I believed I might find out. Monday, the rumors escalated. Someone spray-painted a slur on my locker before first period. The janitor painted over it, but the stain stayed in my mind. I walked the halls with my fists clenched, waiting for the next hit. In gym class, the usual pickup game happened without me. No one even glanced my way when I sat on the bleachers. The coach blew his whistle and shouted plays I used to call. Felt like watching my own funeral. After school, Wyatt dragged me to the city park. We sat on the swings like little kids, feet dragging in the dirt. You need to do something for you, he said. Not for them. I told him about the backyard throwing sessions, how my arm still remembered every route. He smiled. Then keep throwing. Don't let them take that from you. We walked to the empty field behind the community center. Wyatt stood as receiver. I threw pass after pass until the sun dipped low. Each completion felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. When we finally stopped, sweaty and laughing, he tackled me gently to the grass. See? You're still the best quarterback I know. His kiss tasted like hope. Tuesday brought the first crack in the wall. Mike, one of the linemen, waited by my truck after practice. Coach is losing his mind. The offense can't move the ball. I shrugged. Not my problem anymore. Mike looked uncomfortable. Some of us, we miss you, man. Jake's been quiet. The team's not the same. I wanted to believe him, but trust was in short supply. Tell that to the guy who leaked the photo. Mike nodded and walked away. That night, Dad surprised me. He knocked on my door and sat on the edge of my bed. I watched the game film from last year. You were unstoppable. His voice was rough. I'm angry, Landon. Not because you're gay. Because you hid it from me. I thought we were closer than that. The admission stunned me. You never gave me a reason to think you'd understand. He rubbed his face. Maybe I wouldn't have, but I'm trying now. Your mom's been on me. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a door opening. I nodded, throat tight. Thanks, Dad. Wednesday, Wyatt and I drove to the lake after school. We sat on the tailgate watching the sun set over the water. He told me about his dream of studying engineering. I talked about maybe coaching someday if football was really over. The conversation felt normal, like any couple planning a future. When he leaned in and kissed me under the pink sky, the world narrowed to just us. No team, no town, no labels. Just Landon and Wyatt. Thursday, the principal announced the championship game against our rivals. The whole school buzzed. I tried to ignore it, but the posters in every hallway felt like salt in the wound. Wyatt noticed my mood and took me to the movies instead. We held hands in the dark theater, something we had never dared before. The simple act felt revolutionary. On the drive home, he said, "Whatever happens Friday, I'm proud of you." I believed him. Friday, the team lost their final regular season game. The backup threw 3 picks. Social media exploded with parents demanding answers. Late that night, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Coach, we need to talk." I stared at it for 20 minutes before deleting it. Wyatt called immediately after. "You okay?" I told him about the text. "Don't answer yet," he advised. "Make them feel what you felt." His words gave me power I hadn't known I possessed. Saturday, I woke up to a different energy in the house. Mom made pancakes, my favorite. Dad even asked how Wyatt was doing. Small steps, but they mattered. I spent the afternoon throwing with Wyatt again. This time he recorded my throws on his phone and we analyzed them like old times. "You still have it," he said. The compliment settled warm in my chest. Sunday, the storm inside me finally broke. I sat on the roof with Wyatt, legs dangling over the edge. "I think I'm ready to fight for my spot," I told him. He squeezed my hand. "Then I'll be right beside you." Looking at the stars, I realized the boy who had hidden in the closet was gone. In his place was someone willing to stand in the light. The path ahead was still uncertain, but with Wyatt beside me and my own courage growing, I finally believed I could walk it. Monday morning, the school paper ran a story about team chemistry issues. Everyone knew what it meant. By lunch, the rumors had shifted. Some kids were asking why I wasn't playing. I kept my head down, but the energy felt different. Wyatt met me at my locker. "People are starting to notice the team sucks without you." His grin was contagious. After school, Coach Harlan was waiting by my truck. "Landon, got a minute?" I crossed my arms. "Depends." He looked older than I remembered. "The offense is stalled. The boosters are on my back. I was wrong to cut you. The team needs you for the championship." I laughed once, sharp. "Now you need me? After you threw me away?" He shifted his weight. "I'm sorry. I let the parents get in my head. Come back. We'll win this thing together." I thought about every whisper, every slur, every silent stare. "I'll think about it." I drove off before he could say more. That night, I talked it over with Wyatt on the phone for hours. "If I go back, it has to be on my terms," I said. "No hiding, no apologies for who I am." Wyatt's voice was steady. "Then set the terms. You've earned that." His belief in me gave me the courage to text Coach back, "I'll come to practice tomorrow, but everyone hears the truth from me first." Tuesday, I walked into the locker room before practice. The team fell quiet. I stood tall. "You all know now. I'm gay. I'm also the best quarterback you've got. If you want to win state, we do this together, no secrets, no hate. Otherwise, I walk." Silence stretched. Then Mike started clapping. Slowly, others joined. Jake stepped forward last. "I was wrong, man. I'm sorry." The apology wasn't perfect, but it was real. Coach nodded. "Suit up, Hayes." Practice felt electric. My arm was on fire. Every route connected. The guys cheered when I hit a deep bomb to the backup receiver. For the first time in weeks, I felt like myself again. After practice, Wyatt waited in the parking lot. I ran to him and hugged him right there in front of everyone. No one said a word. Some guys even waved. The small victory tasted sweeter than any trophy. Wednesday, the whole school seemed to hold its breath. The championship was Friday night. Posters of me appeared on lockers again. This time with the caption RQB. The shift was surreal. Dad came to watch practice and actually smiled when I threw a perfect spiral. "That's my boy," he muttered. Mom cried happy tears at dinner. Thursday, we had a light walkthrough. The coaches drew up plays that played to my strengths. The team moved like a machine again. After practice, Jake pulled me aside. "I told the boosters the truth. They're backing you now." I clapped his shoulder. "Thanks for stepping up." The old friendship wasn't gone, just changed. That night, Wyatt and I drove to our spot by the lake. We lay in the truck bed looking at the stars. "Whatever happens tomorrow," he said, "I love you." The words wrapped around me like warm blankets. "I love you too." We kissed under the moonlight, slow and sure. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of tomorrow. I was ready. Friday morning, the town buzzed. Banners hung from every store. My phone filled with messages of support. Some genuine, some surprised. I ate breakfast with my parents in silence that felt peaceful instead of heavy. Dad even said, "Go get him, son." At school, Wyatt met me at the door with a quick kiss on the cheek. Win for you, not for them. His words became my mantra. By kickoff, the stadium was packed. The crowd roared when my name was announced. The first half was a battle. We traded scores, but I felt every throw in my bones. At halftime, we were down by 3. Coach gave a fiery speech. In the huddle, the guys looked at me. "Let's finish this," I said. They nodded. The third quarter belonged to us. I threw 2 touchdowns. The defense held. With 2 minutes left, we were up by 4. Then the rivals drove down and scored. Suddenly, we were down by 3 with 40 seconds on the clock. The stadium noise was deafening. I looked to the sidelines. Wyatt stood near the fence, eyes locked on me. I gave him a small nod. This was for both of us. The final drive started at our own 20. First down, short pass. Second down, scramble for 8. The clock ticked. On 3rd and 2, I dropped back. The pocket collapsed. I rolled right, saw Mike open downfield, and let it fly. The ball spiraled true. Touchdown. The crowd exploded. We had taken the lead with 11 seconds left. But the rivals had one last chance. Their return man broke free. The entire stadium held its breath. Our defense swarmed. The gun sounded as they tackled him at midfield. Game over. We had won. Teammates mobbed me. Jake lifted me onto his shoulders. The stands chanted my name. Coach hugged me hard. "You did it, kid." But the person I looked for was Wyatt. He pushed through the crowd. I jumped down and ran to him. Right there on the 50-yard line, in front of the entire town, I kissed him. The cheers only got louder. Later, in the locker room, the guys surrounded me. "You're our captain," Mike said. Dad waited outside with tears in his eyes. "I'm proud of you, son. All of you." Mom hugged Wyatt like family. The night felt like a dream I never wanted to wake from. But the real victory wasn't the trophy. It was the way the school looked at me now, not as the gay kid, but as the guy who led them to glory. The whispers had turned to cheers. The hate had cracked. And in Wyatt's arms under the stadium lights, I finally understood what home felt like. The celebration lasted late into the night. We paraded the trophy through town in open trucks. Fireworks lit the sky. At the after-party in the gym, the team lifted me onto a table and chanted my name. Jake handed me the game ball. "You earned this." I looked around at faces that had once turned away and saw respect instead of fear. The shift still felt fragile, like glass that could shatter, but it held. Wyatt stayed by my side the whole night. We danced to the terrible playlist, laughed when the guys tried to two-step, and stole quiet moments in the hallway where no one minded when we kissed. "You changed everything tonight," he whispered. I shook my head. "We changed it. You gave me the strength to walk back in." His smile lit up the dim corridor. Monday at school, the principal called an assembly. He stood on stage with the trophy. "Last Friday showed us what real teamwork looks like. Landon Hayes reminded us that courage comes in many forms." The entire student body stood and cheered. I sat in the front row, Wyatt's hand in mine, feeling the applause wash over me like a wave. For the first time, I didn't flinch from the attention. The local paper ran a front-page story, "Gay QB leads Hawks to state title." My phone blew up with messages from colleges. Coaches who had ignored me before suddenly wanted film. Dad read the article at breakfast and actually smiled. "Looks like you've got options, son." Mom hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. The house felt lighter, like someone had opened all the windows after years of stale air. But not everyone was ready to celebrate. A few parents posted angry letters to the school board. Coach received calls demanding I be benched for the state final. He shut them down publicly. "Landon is our leader." End of discussion. His support meant more than he knew. Practice for the state championship began with new intensity. The guys pushed harder, knowing the whole state was watching. I called plays with confidence that came from being fully seen. Wyatt attended every session, sitting in the stands with a notebook, charting routes like a real coach. Afterward, we'd grab burgers and talk strategy until midnight. Those nights became my favorite part of the week. Midweek, Jake pulled me aside. I told my parents the truth about why I leaked the photo. They're ashamed of me. I'm ashamed of me. His voice cracked. I just want you to know I'm trying to be better. I clapped his shoulder. We all make mistakes. What matters is what we do next. The forgiveness felt freeing for both of us. Thursday night, the team held a bonfire at the lake. Someone brought a guitar. We sang terrible songs and roasted marshmallows. Wyatt sat between my legs, my arms around him, and no one batted an eye. Mike even asked us how we met. I told the story while the fire crackled, and the guys listened like it was the most normal thing in the world. The acceptance settled deep in my bones. Friday, the state final arrived. The stadium in Dallas was massive, the lights blinding. National Scouts filled the press box. My parents sat with Wyatt's mom in the front row. When my name was announced, the crowd roared. The game was brutal. Our rivals came out swinging. We traded punches for 3 quarters, tied at 21. In the huddle before the final drive, I looked at every face. This is our moment. Leave everything on the field. They nodded. I took the snap, felt the rush, and threw a laser to the sideline for 20 yards. The clock ticked down. Another completion. Then a scramble. We reached the red zone with 40 seconds left. The play call was a fade to the corner. I dropped back. The pocket held for half a second. I planted and threw. The ball sailed through the night sky. My receiver leaped, fingertips grazing leather. Incomplete. The stadium groaned. 3rd and goal. I called an audible at the line. The defense shifted. I took the snap and ran. Bodies collided around me. I cut left, broke a tackle, and dove into the end zone. The whistle blew. Touchdown. The Hawks had won the state title. Pandemonium erupted. Teammates piled on me. Confetti fell. The trophy was ours. I found Wyatt on the sideline and lifted him off his feet. We did it! I shouted over the noise. His laugh was the best sound in the world. Later, standing on the podium with the gold ball in my hands, I looked out at the sea of faces. Some had doubted me. Some had hated me. Tonight they all cheered. The journey from locker room outcast to state champion had taken every ounce of courage I possessed. But I hadn't walked it alone. Wyatt stood beside me, hand in mine, and for the first time I understood that love and truth could rewrite any story. The ride home was quiet in the best way. Dad drove, Mom hummed along to the radio. Wyatt rode with us, head on my shoulder. When we pulled into the driveway, Dad turned around. I was wrong about a lot of things. I'm sorry. The apology landed soft and true. I nodded. We're good, Dad. That night Wyatt and I sat on the porch swing long after everyone slept. What now? He asked. I smiled into the dark. College. New city. Same us. He kissed me slow and deep. The future stretched bright ahead. No longer something to fear, but something to build together. The boy who had been kicked off the team for being gay had become the man who led his school to glory. And the best part? The story was only beginning. The state championship parade through Riverside lasted 3 hours. Fire trucks led the way, horns blaring. Kids lined the streets waving handmade signs that read, Landon Hayes, our hero. I rode in the back of a convertible with the trophy in my lap, Wyatt beside me. Every time we passed a group of students, they chanted my name. The sound no longer felt like pressure. It felt like belonging. At the school rally the next Monday, the entire town showed up. The principal handed me the key to the city in a small ceremony. Landon showed us that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about doing the right thing even when it costs you everything. The applause lasted so long I had to wipe my eyes. Wyatt squeezed my hand the whole time. Colleges started calling daily. Offers poured in from schools that had never recruited me before. I sat with my parents and Wyatt around the kitchen table sorting through packets. Dad actually laughed at one coach's overly enthusiastic email. They want you bad, son. Mom kept saying, I'm so proud. The words healed old wounds I hadn't realized were still open. 2 weeks later, the team held a senior night banquet. Coach stood at the podium and called me up. This young man taught us more about character than any playbook ever could. He handed me a plaque that read, Most Courageous Player. The guys gave me a standing ovation. Jake hugged me hard. You made me a better man. The moment felt full circle. After the banquet, Wyatt and I drove to our favorite spot by the lake one last time before graduation. We spread a blanket and lay back watching the stars. Remember the night you first kissed me? I asked. He laughed. You were so nervous you almost missed. I rolled over and kissed him again. Slower this time. I'm not nervous anymore. The water lapped gently against the shore. The future felt wide open. Graduation arrived in early June. I walked across the stage to thunderous applause. Wyatt was right behind me. Our families cheered from the stands. Afterward, we took pictures under the oak tree where we had shared so many secrets. Dad shook Wyatt's hand like an equal. Take care of my boy. The simple acceptance meant the world. That summer we packed for college. Wyatt and I had both been accepted to the same university in California. Far from Texas but close to the ocean and new beginnings. We loaded the last box into the truck and stood in the driveway. Mom cried. Dad hugged me tight. Call every week, he said gruffly. I promised. As we drove out of town, I looked in the rearview mirror. The stadium lights were still visible against the evening sky. The field where I had lost everything and then won it all back looked small now. Wyatt reached over and took my hand. Ready for the next chapter? I smiled. With you? Always. Years later, I would tell our kids the story. The day their dad got kicked off the team for being gay and the night one perfect touchdown changed an entire school. They would listen wide-eyed, then ask if it was really true. I would show them the old newspaper clippings and the faded game ball. And I would tell them the most important part. Love wins when you refuse to hide. But standing on that porch the night before we left for college, none of that had happened yet. It was just me and Wyatt, two boys who had fought their way through hate and found each other on the other side. The world still had plenty of battles ahead. But we were ready, because we had already won the hardest one. True or false? One heroic play on the field can truly erase deep-seated prejudice in a community.